Lacrosse Link goes on location. We are in Ratodin, part of Prague in the Czech Republic. I'm here with Petr Ghe, one half of the Good Stick Company.
It's the company, that's right.
Yeah, and we are very excited to be where the magic happens in what they affectionately call the dungeon, under the apartment. And we're going to talk about, first of all, what was the impetus for you and Brian Whitmer, who has been on the show before, returning veteran. What was the impetus for creating the Good Stick Company?
I would say the biggest challenge, we did lots of developing programs with Brian before. We're also trying to sort gear for the developing programs. And it usually comes with a little disappointment when we are opening boxes from the teams that are handing down equipment that they don't want to use. And then we're trying to create a magic for a new player, grow the game, which is being really, getting popular and popular. It's going to come to the Olympic Games hopefully in 2028. So we just came with this idea, if we're going to make an affordable stick that everybody can have, it's going to be nicely strung by a player who actually plays. And it's easier to create the magic for the player, I think, and get more players interested in the game.
And I know you've mentioned one of the issues when, there are all kinds of drives, like gear drives, and people donating gear, which is terrific. It's terrific that players donate their old gear, but a lot of times they're old heads that are not really suitable even for a player starting out. You want to give a player a stick they can grow with, and that was the idea, and to make it affordable, right, to lower the barrier to entry. So what is the cost of a good stick?
Of a good stick, we're aiming to, at the beginning, we're trying to cover the cost of the purchasing of the mold and getting the company started. And now we're trying to sell the complete stick, which will be strung for €40 a piece. And we offer both discounts to the teams and developing programs. We're still trying to adjust the price to make it affordable to everybody.
You're selling heads separately as well?
We're selling the head separately for the whole stick. It's not really meant for adult player. Like the head is perfectly fine. It's made from the same plastic like any other conventional head out there, from like a DuPont, Zytel, ST1 or something, technical detail. Okay. But the shaft is aluminium, which we just have to be happy with it, because one of the main ideas was to make an ethically sourced stick on a regular market in European Union. Like we could easily go to Chinese supplier or Taiwan supplier, get something, and just add it into the Shopify space of the world, sell it for cheap. But then we don't want to do that.
You want something that they can use and grow with and that will work, and not just
And we actually know people who are making the stick. Like we've been to a guy's factory who's making the head. We helped him to unbox the mold, enjoy the moment, just like be there by the creation and pick up the shafts by ourselves. We're putting all these images, if you guys want to see this on Instagram, like all our progress.
Absolutely. We'll put that up as a graphic so everyone can check out the Instagram and that. And you've got everything happening in Europe, right?
Yeah, in Czech Republic mostly. The shafts are done by a Czech company in Bratislava in Slovakia, which is our neighboring country. And the head is just done in Liberec, which is one city like 100 kilometers from Prague towards the Czech mountains.
Great stuff going on. We're going to step into a little deeper into the laboratory here and take a look at the process once the materials arrive here. So we're going to jump to that, and Petr is going to show us how these sticks come together.
So welcome to the shop, Stephen. This is where the magic is happening.
So we've got a head here for you to show us how the heads are prepared. All the materials come together. Everything is gathered here in the shop. You make an order, people choose the black or the white head, then you have the black or the ivory, kind of a
natural.
Yeah. And then what do you do once someone has chosen their head?
So we gotta string the head. So we're usually gonna put the mesh in. We like our customers to choose a little bit of color for meshes. We think they work much better with the kids, because for the first time they're trying to choose a nice color, they go for the purple one or yellow one, creates a little bit of better magic. So yeah, then we're gonna start with like the sidewall strings, right? We choose our mesh. So we're gonna take this green one. And we're just gonna put it in. We're gonna use a shooting string as well. We make all these strings as well in Czech Republic, so we're just gonna put it all in. And then, oh voila! We have a finished head.
The big reveal.
The big reveal of the head. Great job on the stringing job, by the way.
And one of the things you mentioned was that these are being strung by lacrosse players for lacrosse players. You guys have an idea what you're doing. I know, I've been talking to you and Brian, and I know you're recruiting some other folks. You're spending a lot of time stringing the heads, making sure they're ready for folks to go out and play, so it comes out of the box out of the
with the
package.
little pocket. We're trying actually to create a head that the players actually would play with. So even me, considering having a couple of wall balls with it, I was just gonna try it out, just like create like a little bit of pocket. So when the kid, let's talk about kids because we're trying to like get kids playing the sport. When they pick up the ball, it goes into the pocket. Usually like those new sticks or like the cheap ones you can get anywhere, they're pretty flat.
So how would you form a pocket?
Oh, you just it's a pure wizardry.
Is there a magic tool maybe that would
we have
help?
a magic tool. If you're not happy with the pocket, like when you put the mesh in, it usually pretty stuck into its own way when it's attached to the sidewall of the head. But then you gotta move the mesh like you're receiving the ball, pretty much like a fastball. So we're simulating it on the pounder here, which we can just hit it a couple times and kind of get the mesh where we want it.
There we go. So you have a completed head. The next step in the process is obviously we need to put a shaft on this head.
Shaft.
There's one of the black shafts. There's also a silver option.
Yes.
So then what happens?
Pretty much we're just gonna put it on. We just slide the shaft right in. There's a little click at the end, which means it's right there. And then it goes to our beautiful drilling machine that does all the hard work for us, so we don't have to drill with the single hand. Would you like to see it?
Yeah, let's see it.
Okay. So we just created this little wooden structure with Brian to make sure all the holes are in the same spot every time. My dad actually helped me with it to do like all the math behind it. Yeah, so we're just gonna put the head in there. It's nice and snug, doesn't move. We're gonna start it. We won't hear each other for a second. Start it. And this one goes down. Create the hole. You can stop it. And we have a
Voila.
voila.
And so you've got the head, you've got the shaft, we have butt ends.
We have our buttons, yeah.
Personally, I would, sorry to make you bend down, I know you just took a tough check in your game today. I would tape that off myself. Obviously,
Yeah,
we're
players
gonna
usually do
customize
that,
it once
but
they...
we can give these sticks to kids with the sharp edges. So we choose to one Czech local company makes Intercross sticks, which is the contactless version of lacrosse you can play inside in gyms. So we just ask them for a couple thousands of these, so we can put them on the sticks.
Very nice. And I'm going to step in for one moment because you strung one up for me.
Of course, with the best color.
With the Glasgow Clydesiders colors that the defending champions at the Alice Rabeski Memorial, which is why Peter's wearing a kilt. This is just why maybe you do randomly wear kilts.
Yeah, sometimes for fun.
But they've strung this one up for me. It's pretty fun. I got to work on it. I feel like I got a little hook in this one, but we're going to work on that.
Yep.
And get it straight. But this is a completed stick, all for 40 euros, 25 euros for a head, and it's going to make it much easier. Is the plan for people in Europe at all ages, but focusing on kids, to get into the sport.
Any starting player pretty much can pick this stick up. You don't do a lot of cross checking at the beginning. A lot of so just learning how to pick up the ball, shoot. This stick is perfectly fine.
The Good Stick Company here in Ratodin Prague, Czech Republic.
Watched by Danby, a big pick from McGraw and another one. Back to McGraw. He's going to let it rip and scores. Liam McGraw from downtown.
After review, video shows that the referee nailed that call. We got a good goal.
Todd LaBranche always one for the highlight reel.
Joining me on the show, the first man to referee 400 games in the National Lacrosse League, Todd LaBranche. Welcome to Lacrosse Link.
Thanks, Stephen. I appreciate it.
It's fun to have you on. It's always great to run into you at the rinks, whether it's games that you're reffing or you're just coming to watch. I know you love the game. You come and watch a lot of lacrosse, and obviously you've been at a ton of games. 400 recently. You hit the first referee to get to that mark, and you didn't. It's not like you started reffing right in the NLL right away. Like you've racked up some games pretty quickly, eh?
Yeah, I actually was hired in 2001. So I was 36 years old. And it was when the original Vancouver Ravens came into the league. So they were looking for officials out on the West Coast. And there was 8 of us from BC hired at that time. And so I was a bit of a late starter and then just started working more and more games as the years went on.
And you've obviously... One of the factors that's helped is the season's going to 18 games partway through, but you're doing a lot of like multi-game weekends and to build up this number of games. Not like that was the goal. It's just that's the way it works, that you wind up doing multiple games in a weekend fairly frequently, don't you?
I do. This couple weeks ago, I was actually assigned 3 games in one weekend. And so it's the third time in my entire career that's happened. I was fortunate enough. Brian Lemon was smart enough to schedule me a day in between. So I was in Philly on a Thursday, Hamilton on a Saturday, and then in Colorado on the Monday. So I had some recovery time for the old body to get back to be able to go out and stay at that level.
I want to talk about the physical demands, because obviously everyone thinks about the players and what they go through, which is obviously a huge challenge when they're playing multiple games, when they're going through the course of a season, taking the bumps and bruises. And I don't know that people think about the physical reality for referees, how much you're running. You're not getting breaks. You're not subbing on enough. You're running the whole game. And I'm not trying to say it's the same as what the players who, having been a high caliber player, that it's not the same demand, but there's a definite demand. And it's important you don't have to just keep moving. You have to be in the right positions. And I feel like people don't really notice referees being in the right positions. It's like with anything with the refereeing, they notice when you're in the wrong position, when you get hit with a ball in a shot, when you collide with a player or a player collides with you. Or people notice you're in a good position when there's a close goal call and you're right there on the crease to throw your arms up or wave it off. But how much is the physical role of refereeing a factor in what you have to do over the years?
It's a huge factor. And, in a large degree, I think I was one of the ones that benefited from being off for a year and a half with COVID. Twofold. First of all, to be able to give the body a bit of a rest, but also, my wife took up running, so we committed to building a gym in our basement, and so that really was what allowed me to maintain and increase the focus on the physical aspect, because I'm getting older and the league's getting younger and I'm not. But you're right, it's a big aspect, and to be in good physical condition allows you to be more mentally focused as well. And like you say, to be in the proper position to make the best judgment call that you can is paramount. And it really helps to be able to get the right angle, to see what you need to see, whether it's a crease violation, a good goal, or if there's a foul on one team or the other. So it is very, very physical. Like you say, we don't get the opportunity to take shifts off or go to the bench and sit down for a water break. And thankfully, the NLL has those media timeouts every 5 minutes, which allows us to towel off and get some water, but get right back up to it, or right back after it.
And, it's funny, like I mentioned, people don't really notice when you get things right. And even sometimes when you do get them right, you take some abuse as a ref, which is part of the whole thing. But I remember a call a few years ago, I think it was a game in Saskatchewan, where New England was coming down and they score on a play. And it was one where the player takes the shot. I think it was Colton Watkins Center. It was one of their training guys, comes down, takes a shot, it hits the goalie, trickles in. As it's rolling towards the net, he goes through the crease, comes back out the backside. You go and review it, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh, there's his foot, it's outside the crease, everything's great. And you come out and say it's confirmed, no goal. And I wrote about it that week and said, there's a replay, why do you not get this right? I didn't say Todd, but I said, why don't you get it right? They actually got a message from Brian Lemon saying he got it right. And it's like, but no, I looked at the rule book. And it turned out in that case, it wasn't in the rule book that you had to establish both feet outside the crease. So Brian and I did a hit for my podcast, a special segment to talk about how you got that right and what the rule is, because it wasn't in the rule book. It was in the memorandum of how you guys are applying the rules. But I think it's funny because I was in Saskatchewan. I think we ran into each other in Saskatchewan at the Founders Cup. After that, we were talking about things, and somebody there, I remember saying, "Oh, and there's Todd. He's even with replay, he didn't get the call right." And I was like, "No, he did. Did you not see my thing?" Like, so even when you get them right, sometimes you don't get credit. People are still ready to criticize you.
100%. Yeah. And what you're referring to is what we call our case book. So we have a rule book, but we also have a very extensive case book. It's dozens and dozens of pages with video clips embedded into them, which help us with rule interpretations and situational understandings of different plays. Because no play is ever the same, but there's significant similarities for us to be able to study and recognize and apply the rule properly. So. Yeah, I was like, Brian, I know I got this right. We talked about it, and he's like, don't worry, I already straightened him out.
Yeah, and it was good. Like, Brian was great about coming on, and we sorted that out. The other one, we've talked about how refs don't get a lot of attention, but of course we have to touch on the one time you did get a lot of attention with the call. We'll run the clip, and I just want to, mention what that was like for you to, the time you said, I think it was Greer and O'Doherty, you gave them 2 minutes to go and think about what they've done. And what was it like getting that attention and kind of being the center of kind of a viral moment?
These two were clearly having issues with each other, could not restrain themselves, so we're going to give them 2 minutes to think about what they've done.
It was a little bit overwhelming, actually. So, a couple of anecdotes to that. First of all, when I did it, I completely forgot that Nick Sakevich was in the building at the time, and he was entertaining a group that was considering buying an expansion franchise. And so I ran into him before the game, and we had a quick chat, and then the call went off, and then after the game, he's walking under the tunnel, and I was coming around the corner, and I see him, and he's walking towards me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how's he going to react? And he actually gave me a high five and said, good job. So I thought I was okay, but totally forgot that he was in the building. And then subsequent to that, I had a lot of requests for some interviews, and including having to get up at 4:30 in the morning to do a hit on a New York radio station because it was an early morning show and they wanted me live, and I had to drive to my office and get on because I didn't have a landline at home and they wanted it via landline. So I had to drive to my office and give them a call at 4:30 in the morning to be on a New York radio station.
Well, I'm glad we didn't have to either get you up at 4:30 in the morning to be on the show. I'm glad we were able to have you on. And I'm glad that you, on behalf of the refs, are getting some positive attention, because like has been pointed out so many times, without the refs, there's no game. And I and everybody like to take our shots when we think you do something wrong, but I do know how hard it is. And I think you do a great job, and you're a good guy. I'm glad people are getting a chance to see that. And we appreciate you coming on the show.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, and as the old saying goes, 50% of the people will disagree with 100% of our calls. Right? We're half wrong all the time. So it is like you said, you can't play without officials, and we as an NLL group, we work hard, and we do study week in and week out. We have weekly conference calls, and so it is something that we do take pride in, and a lot of times people always, just like you say, try to find the holes in our game, and we try to seal those up as best we can.
Thanks so much for your time.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Stephen.
Hi, this is Jaden with Al Anderson Source for Sports. Excited to tell you that we got all our new lacrosse product in for this upcoming season. Whether you're playing box or field, our lacrosse experts are going to make sure we get you into the right equipment to elevate your game. At Al Anderson Source for Sports, we know our stuff.
All right, lacrosse friends, I hope that you enjoyed those 2 segments. First, with Todd LaBranche and his history-making 400th NLL game as a referee, and then with Petr Ghe in the basement for the Good Stick Company, showing you how the magic is made for a really cool innovation in lacrosse sticks in Europe. Here we are at the rundown, and the lead item, the Las Vegas Desert Dogs, are the new National Lacrosse League team. The name has been announced. Wayne Gretzky went on Spittin' Chicklets to share the name. He actually learned the name from the hosts of the show. He didn't even know. And the head coach and GM will be Sean Williams, obviously NLL Hall of Famer, legendary player in the game who has moved into the coaching area. And he joined Terry Foy and Kevin Brown of Inside Lacrosse. So you can check out more details about that, about Sean Williams coaching and being the general manager, and all about Las Vegas Desert Dogs on Inside Lacrosse. Go to ilindoor.com. The NLL right now, before the Desert Dogs get there, the playoff race is down to the final stretch, of course, with week 22, the final week of the season coming up. And 6 teams have clinched. Buffalo, Toronto, and Halifax are in the East. The Bandits have clinched first overall. The Rock have second in the East, and a home game in the playoffs. In the West, Colorado, San Diego, and Calgary have all clinched spots. All 3 still have a chance to finish first going into this final weekend, which is crazy exciting as we try to nail down who will be where. Now, the final 2 spots will be decided. 4th in the East and 4th in the West will be the crossover. It is Georgia, Albany, and Philadelphia all have a chance to be in those 2 spots, with a few different variations of how it can work out. And Albany and Georgia have a win and you're in, and Philadelphia, because they're playing Georgia. So basically, win and they're in. Some teams can still get in. Albany for sure can get in with a loss, depending on how the other game goes. But lots of intrigue still there. And coming 5th in the East and getting that crossover might not be a bad deal for the team that winds up there, because the East has dominated the West in the interconference play throughout the season. And if you go over to the West, you avoid the juggernaut that has been the Buffalo Bandits this season in the first round. So it might just be, you could say maybe it could possibly be an easier path to get to the final and come back and maybe play Buffalo or a Toronto team that has been very hot, or the 3rd or 4th place team in the East. I think anyone who gets into the playoffs has a legitimate shot at winning the championship this year. The first round, very interesting because there's one game. A win and in, a one and done for the team that loses. So there's a lot of pressure in that first round. It gets harder to knock out a higher seeded team. You know, do you want to have to beat Buffalo twice or Toronto twice, the teams that have been really dominant throughout this season? Probably not. But the one and done in the first round keeps things wide open. So it's going to be a very interesting playoff run in this final week and into the playoff season. On the field, the Premier Lacrosse League, which is the Summer Field Lacrosse League, for people not familiar with it. Sorry, we have to get our digs in because they do like to pretend the NLL doesn't exist. They will be holding their draft. A very exciting time for the PLL, of course, with all the college players becoming available and teams adding. There have been a ton of retirements over the last several months. So a lot of spots opening up in the PLL, a lot of great talent coming aboard. That will be held on Tuesday, May 10th. It will be aired on ESPNU and ESPN Plus, so you can follow the entire PLL draft. There's a pretty big controversy in Major Series Lacrosse. Nothing really new with the OLA. There's always controversy, always things that are fairly inexplicable. The OLA has issued a ruling that the Owen Sound team must be returned to Brampton for the MSL season to go ahead. MSL has appealed the ruling. They state that there are many procedural errors made by the OLA in addressing the situation, which led them to the conclusion that the sale of the Brampton Excelsiors to Joe Norton and their subsequent move to Owen Sound was not legitimate. Who knows when this will be getting sorted out, but I can tell you the season is scheduled to start May 23rd with Brooklyn visiting Six Nations. 5 days later, the first game in Owen Sound is scheduled as the Six Nations Chiefs then travel to Owen Sound for the first home game there, depending on what happens. Hopefully, everything can get sorted out. The big issue, the OLA has threatened to take over control of the league and to decide who will play for the Mann Cup if MSL doesn't agree to what they have said, depending on how the appeal goes. The big thing that means maybe there is no Man Cup. Maybe it just, the OLA just wipes out the Man Cup if an agreement can't be reached, which would be horrendous for the game. We've missed 2 Man Cups because of the pandemic. Now we're set to come back. Let's just hope they can get it sorted out. How horrible would it be if all the political garbage led to there being no Man Cup? It'd be sickening. Finally, I am in Ratodin at the E-Box and She-Box tournaments over the weekend, and by the time this episode airs, the Alice Rabeski Memorial will be underway again for the first time in 3 years, like everything else in the world of lacrosse. It is fantastic. It was a great experience, especially for this year's E-Box with the women being involved for the first time. They were supposed to be here in 2020. When it was canceled, it just pushed everything back. It was terrific, some great play, exciting play, and very exciting to see the women getting a chance to play box lacrosse in Europe. The women and the She-Box will be the theme, the focus of Laxby this week. So go and check that out on the Inside Lacrosse Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcasts. I speak with players from the tournament about the experience and the future of women's box lacrosse. So the E-Box, the She-Box, and now the Rabeski. You can go check it all out on the LCC Ratodin YouTube page. I'm going to be calling a bunch of games from the beautiful box, a little slice of heaven in the core of Ratodin, including the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the medal games, and a bunch of others. All the games are streamed. LCC Ratodin YouTube page. That's it for this week on Lacrosse Link. I'm Steven Stamp, your host. Thanks for being with me, lacrosse friends. We will see you next week.
Want you, baby, and I'm going